And the first thing I can remember is being punched in my face by a bigger kid for absolutely no reason. What I didn't know was there were guys who were already plotting on me. I was fooled from the moment I got there. What up, y'all? Slade Almighty, aka the Global Dark Skin Ambassador. Coming to you from the Red Room. Kind of a new segment that I'm working on. I got specific kind of videos that I want to do for this kind of segment. And I just want to let you guys know some of the things and experiences that I've been through that led me to be the man who I am today. Hard lessons that I learned that made me stronger, smarter, made me tougher. And I just want to know if any of you can relate to this. So I want to talk about growing up as a youth and the things that some of us may experience in school, especially as far as with bullying. So when I was young, I went to Catholic school. This school called Immaculate Conception on 151st Street in the Bronx by 3rd Avenue. This was a Catholic school. This was a dominantly Hispanic school. And in this school, I dealt with, I'm not gonna say racism necessarily, but prejudice to a certain degree. Now, I was never a quote unquote nerd. I was never a lame in school. But I always was in this, not always, but at this point in school, I was always in this purgatory. I wasn't lame enough to be super bullied and be a lame, a cornball. You know, I had wit, I cracked jokes. I was cool with the cool kids, but I felt like I never was one of the most popular guys. But I always wanted to be. But like I said, I had insecurities because I was young, I was dark-skinned, at a time where being dark-skinned was not lit. You know, there's lots of women on the internet talking about how they love dark-skinned men and they try to clown light-skinned niggas. It wasn't like that back in the day. You know, in the school that I went to, if you weren't Spanish or light-skinned, you wasn't that lit with the girls. You wasn't that lit with the girls, you know. And they would make fun of me and call me cockroach and things like that. And I had to develop tough skin and learn how to play the dozens and snap back and joke back. But sometimes it got to me. But as I got to 6th, 7th grade, I started coming into my own. I started embracing my blackness. And then I became a little bit more popular. And then I began to become somewhat of a bully in Catholic school, mind you, you know. I mean, making fun of the weaker dudes in class, pushing dudes in their cubbies, you know, punching other kids, stealing Pokemon cards. I really thought I was tough. Mind you, when I got back home, I still was barely even coming outside that much. My mother tried to shelter me as much as she could because she knew the kind of environment that we lived in. She knew what was waiting for me the moment I went outside. So she kept me sheltered with, you know, PlayStation, plenty Mega Man games, plenty Crash Bandicoot games, type shit. She did the best she could, but we all know that when you're a young boy, there are things that draw you to be outside. There are things that draw you to want to be in with the in crowd and make you want to be popular and be with the cool guys. And I'm gonna get into that a little bit later, but in Catholic school, I became what I felt was some sort of a tough guy. You know, mostly verbally bullying other kids, but you know, punching on other kids. I had no fighting skills at all at this time, and I was mostly being a follower, but I thought I was tough. 7th grade comes. This is my worst year in Catholic school. I was constantly getting in trouble, getting on the teacher's nerves, going to mass is church, talking, cursing in church, getting in trouble. And then I know that around the like 5-6 month comes during the school year, they did this thing where they sent papers to all the students saying that they're invited to come back the next year or whatever. And I remember I didn't get that paper. So I knew I wasn't gonna come back. And at this point, I felt like I was ready to go to public school anyway. I was tired of Catholic school. Catholic school was like, I didn't realize that public school kids hated on Catholic school kids simply because they had a better education. So when I used to be outside in the hood, I used to get made fun of for being in Catholic school. When all due reality, it's like, hey, nigga, you're just mad because I learned how to read a grade or two more years ahead of you. You know, things like that. But I felt like I was tired of wearing a uniform. Speaking of which, I have so much respect for the uniform and the dress code now. But they used to make fun of me. I thought I was tough. I wanted to be in public school anyway. I got the letter. I was like, cool. Now I'm going to act up even more. And the Catholic school comes, end of the year. My mother switches me to the closest public school that she could put me in, which is 151. Maybe some of you watching this video right now, you know of 151. 151 was considered a bad school. It was very close to where I lived. It's pretty much like on Cortland Ave. Like it's right there. Like this is one of those schools that gave like lunches away during the summer and stuff like that. Like one of those like old school kind of schools. And I thought that I was tough. I thought that I was ready. I thought that, you know, I could beat anybody up, but little did I know, I was in for a rude awakening. So now, I start public school. I start 151. I'm not gonna say I had any fear. I didn't have any fear because I already thought I was tough. I simply just didn't know what I was in for. Now, the thing about public school is, public school was the first place that, well, not the first place, but public school was the first time where puberty started. Your pride and your insecurities are in full display. And I got punched in my face in front of a bunch of kids for pretty much no reason. You know, like when I think back at it now, I really got bullied. I got bullied and I really was like pussy. Like I was soft. I thought I was tough, but I was soft, and I found out that I was soft and I wasn't built for what 151 had to offer. 151 was this place right by Jackson Projects, across the street from Jackson Projects, where some of the worst kids in the projects go, from both Melrose and Jackson Projects, and a couple little places over. And I went to 151 at a weird time because I assumed that my boys were in 151. You know, my boys like Melly Mel, Rich Green, you know, Payne, Deb. But these niggas were in other schools, but most of them were in 184, which is another school that's not too far from the hood, but it's not 151. So I was the only person from my part of the hood in 151. I did not realize how much that mattered. And the first thing I can remember is being punched in my face by a bigger kid right outside of the music class for absolutely no reason. What I didn't know was there were guys who were already plotting on me. I was fooled from the moment I got there. I got there 7th grade. All the other guys knew each other, grew up with each other. Maybe were even in elementary school together. These niggas was day ones, and I was this new guy. On top of that, I was beginning to have my shoulders grow a little bit wider. I was becoming more handsome. I was getting taller around this time. And the girls liked me. They liked my voice. They just liked my energy. I don't know, maybe the girls used to talk about me around these other niggas. I don't know, but I remember being asked by this kid who was bigger than me and had got left back twice. So I had to been 14 and this guy was like 16 in the 8th grade. And I remember attempting to step into music class, and the guy stops me and he says, "Yo, I heard you was talking about me, my nigga. I heard you say you got shells for me." Shells meaning bullets. And I'm like, "Hey, bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." He got two other guys. One of these guys are a very, very, very known person who's locked up right now, who was, or rather is, GFC. Split nigga, right? Not from my building, though. We ended up squashing it later on down the line, but I still always harbored some kind of resentment. But anyways, he was one of the guys amping the situation. He's like, "Yeah, yo," you know what I'm saying? And then they like, "Hey, new guy, you ain't gonna do nothing? You ain't gonna do nothing? You ain't ready to fight?" I'm explaining how, yo, I don't want to fight. Like, I was scared. Like, this dude was big. So while I'm telling the other guys that I don't want to fight this guy, I turn and face the bigger dude, and there's already a fist coming towards my face. Punches me right in the kisser, right? Bunch of chicks looking, bunch of other people looking. They start laughing at me. The guy gets in trouble. I remember just sitting down, upset, not doing nothing. Just harboring all the animosity, accepting my defeat, realizing that I'm really like not built for this shit. That's one situation. I thought I was a bully, but I quickly learned that this is what real bullying is. Now, there was a second situation now. Second situation, I was arguing with a dude in the lunchroom. Nothing happens. School ends. I'm walking home by myself. Little did I know, the guy was following me. He catches up to me, stops me, presses me like a certified gangster. Presses me and all that, right? I tell him, "Yo, I don't want no problems. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want no problems." He lets me slide. I harbored that on the inside. Although I didn't do nothing, I wish that I could. And it made me hate him and hate myself that I allowed that to happen to me. Then there's a third situation. I got jumped right at the basketball courts outside in front of everyone. But less of a jump, because for it to be a jump, I would have had to fight back, and then they would have had to apply more pressure. It was more, I'm standing at the basketball court, minding my business. These three guys come to me. Now, one of the guys was the first guy who punched me in the face already. Another guy was this light-skinned guy. And then another guy was a known person from my hood who is dead now. Of course, I didn't kill him, but, you know, he ended up getting killed or whatever. And I remember guys were just trying to press me. And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't want no problems." And the light-skinned guy punches me in my face. I just start copping a plea like a pussy, like a bitch. Still disgusted with myself from how I handled that situation. I'm basically trying to cop a plea. I'm basically trying to say, "Hey, stop this." While I'm saying that, the big dude who punched me in the face from that first incident punches me in the face now. I start crying. Then the third guy who I said ended up getting killed in the future, he punches me in the face. This is outside. This is in front of everybody. Teachers see it. They break us up. They take me out of recess. They put me in a room by myself to get me away from the kids. I remember just sitting at the table. Bright day outside. Bright day outside. This had to be maybe like October. And I just had my arms crossed like this, and I'm just sitting at the desk. Angry. Angry enough to kill. Too soft to do anything. Just tearing. Tears pouring down my face. These are the type of things you never forget. Mind you, I forgot to say, the bigger guy who punched me in the face from that first situation, he actually ended up getting shot and is now in a wheelchair. I remember, mind you, this is another guy from Cortland, right? He's in a wheelchair now. I don't even remember his name, but I remember after I had already been to prison, really started having some kind of street credibility, I remember telling myself before I seen him that if I ever see him again, I was gonna do something bad to him. But when I seen him, he was in a wheelchair, paralyzed the rest of his life. Streets already had got to him. And he was just looking dusty, sitting in the chair. I'm like, hey, karma already did you one better. Let that go. But I remember at the time, I was very embarrassed. I felt very, very soft. And I was alone. There's nobody to help me. Everyone already knew each other. They were clicked up. And now, fourth situation now. There was this gay guy. And of course, he wasn't out at the time. But you know, the fact that he was only hanging out with girls and he was flamboyant, everybody know dude was gay. And I remember his friends who were girls, they liked me or whatever. And for some reason, one day, he just picked a fight with me. And I remember us being in the science room, tussling and shit. I didn't know how to fight at all at this point, so my whole thing was we were just tussling, and I was pushing him. And he was trying to punch me, but I was holding his arms down, and I ended up getting suspended from that. My mother said, okay, it's only December, and you keep getting into fights. This is your fourth fight. I'm gonna transfer you out of this school. So I ended up getting transferred to the school called PSMS 218 on 167th Street, in which I totally rebranded myself. I rebranded myself, and I became the total opposite of who I was, because I got a chance to start fresh. And I just remember the torment that I went through and the embarrassment that I went through on 151. And thankful that I never told my boys. I guess if the ones who are free, they see this video, they'll know now. But in hindsight, if I would have told them what was going on, we probably would have got deep and then went to school and took care of business. But I was too embarrassed to tell anyone. But I could just remember the pain I went through, the embarrassment, the hurt, the exploitation. And you know what? I feel like I deserved it. I feel like it did send me down a negative trajectory though. I knew what real bullying was. And I knew that feeling of being weak, I never wanted to feel again. And it made me become somewhat of a bully in the future. I just learned that I had to adapt. And if I'm in any kind of situation, any kind of place, if the choice is to be soft or be a bully, then I was gonna be a bully. And that's just a mentality that I carried all the way through high school when I was there. I carried it with me through Rikers Island. But in a way, it helped me survive Rikers Island, because I knew what it was like to be bullied. And I knew that I had to either become the predator or be food of the predators. So I chose to become a predator, but at the same time, because I knew what it was like to be punched in your face and be afraid, I never took it as far as a lot of other guys did in Rikers Island. Now, when it comes to being a boy, I feel like it was necessary for me to learn these lessons. It was necessary for me to go through these things. If I could get in a time machine and go back, I would keep things the way they are instead of maybe saying I would go back and be extra aggressive to all those guys in 151, because I probably wouldn't be here right now. I probably just would have been extra in the street and maybe ended up shooting somebody or murdering somebody and not having my freedom, not being able to be free in 2023 and be there for my children, be there for my mother. But I definitely know what it's like to really be bullied, and really be scared. And as a man, that's a feeling that it stays with you forever. It's a feeling that you never want to feel again. It's something that it allows you to find out who you really are and who you want to be. But that's my story. Coming from the Rat Room. Peace.